Welcome to Table Talk here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. That's right. Over 12 and a half years strong. We got a great Table Talk discussion coming your way this week. Yes, if you are on YouTube, you're going to see an avatar of me. One of the reasons why is I unfortunately fractured my nose, and I basically look like a raccoon at this point. So it's going to take some time to heal. There is no need for anybody to see me, but there is all the reason in the world for folks to see our guest this week. From Ramblin' Fan, he is one of our favorites here. We love having him on to talk NFL, to specifically talk about the Los Angeles Rams, a team that he covers. You can follow him on the Twitter/X at Milroy Eagles Fan. We've got Bret Stuter. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Aside from my fractured nose, I'm doing all right, man. But I got to tell you, it's first off, it's great seeing you. Secondly, our teams that we cover, Philadelphia Eagles for myself, the Los Angeles Rams for you. My gosh, what a time in the NFL right now. And we're certainly going to dive into the top of the NFC in a bit in terms of the Eagles and the Rams, but man, after this past weekend here, Bret, there's just this prevalent and this ongoing theme after week 13 here that NFL teams, that there's no NFL teams that are really all that good. I mean, the Rams lose to the Panthers, for the love of God. I don't know how that happened. And then the Eagles lose to the Bears at home on Black Friday, for the love of God. I thought they were going to actually win that game. The Colts, who are having a really good first half of the season, they have been faltering as well. It seems like we're really seeing some, dare I say, parity in the NFL this year in terms of talent from team to team and how teams are able to perform week after week. So in terms of this whole narrative, in terms of this theme that, that there really aren't any good or dominant teams, I should say, here this year in the NFL. What are your thoughts on this particular narrative here as we're just exiting week 13?
Well, I think that one of the challenges we have is that we're always looking at the most recent games as that defines a team or its season. And I don't know that we can do that. Unfortunately, it's a very myopic fan base now in the NFL, and we tend to overreact. We can blame the NFL and all of its parity maneuvers on why good teams are losing on week 13. It's a 17-game season. Every team has the same salary cap. The draft is loaded, but it's loaded for inverting teams. So poor teams get the best prospects, and good teams have to play other good teams. So interim, assessments are tough to make because, in all honesty, the best teams are playing the best teams.
Yes.
And you don't really get to see it until the final 4 or 5 weeks where the division really starts to take shape because you've got division rivals beating up on one another.
Yeah, I think that's a really good assessment too. I mean, it was so bizarre last night watching that Sunday night game as we're recording this on Monday, December 1st, the Denver Broncos against the Washington Commanders, and how close the Commanders kept that game. The Commanders, not necessarily the best team in the world, but they were getting some really great quarterback play, during certain parts of the game from Marcus Mariota. And it's just really interesting to see in terms of the parity where the league is really at right now as we're heading into week 14. But, to move along with the conversation here, Bret, I want to talk about the top of the NFC here. I mean, this has been an ongoing theme on this podcast platform over the course of the past few weeks. We've talked about this, again, kind of going back to that parity that we were just mentioning. The Rams that you cover, the Eagles that we cover are still, I would believe, considered to be a top 5 NFC team. But the Bears, I mean, the Chicago Bears are now sitting at the number 1 seed if the playoffs actually started today. It's astonishing to think. Yeah, I don't think anybody during the preseason thought that this would actually happen here as we're leaving week 13. But I'm wondering, do you think the Eagles and the Rams are still for real and are truly top teams in the NFC?
In a word, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't want to react to any losses that happen interim because as the Rams head coach, Sean McVay, once said, who was in the lead after week 13? That's right. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And so, I think that the Bears have a great win. And of course, there's going to be a lot of hyperbole associated because emotions drive views and drive clicks. And so there's a lot of temptation to overreact. But I don't want to be that overreactive, I guess, voice in the background. Um, you're always going to have good teams that ultimately have to fall back upon great coaching. And right now, I think the Eagles and the Rams have some of the best coaching. I think that the Seahawks, the Patriots, Broncos have great coaching. 49ers have great coaching. They're playing a last place schedule. So I think that there are a lot of teams out there that will rise to the surface because they've got better coaching overall. We can add some names to the list, but in all honesty, a lot of the teams that have first year head coaches, that has to be proven to me. I'm kind of a doubting Thomas that way.
Oh, we're going to be getting into one of those teams, I think, in a little bit. That's kind of a first-year coach with one of the teams that's atop of the AFC. But really quick, Bret, I got to say, Eagles fans that are going to be listening to this, when you say that Eagles, see, this is the bizarre situation. Being an Eagles fan, they are the defending Super Bowl champions, this Philadelphia Eagles team. And you just mentioned the Eagles have great coaching. At this point in time, Eagles Nation will say, Bret, what are you talking about? No, they do not. they are floundering. I mean, that's what a lot of Eagles Nation is saying. And quite frankly, I think when it comes to Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator, there has been a lot of inconsistency. There's been a lot of just bizarre stuff happening from an offensive standpoint this season.
And I will give you that. But on the flip side, stepping back, Sirianni has been a very successful coach for the Eagles. And
very true. Yep.
There were years and years upon years where the Eagles had Andy Reid or a number of great coaching that never got over the top. Yeah. So, in comparison, I love how East Coast and Eagles fans particularly take stock and really get immersed in the team. And I'll give you that. But I don't think that the problem is as easy as fire the head coach, because then you always have the who comes in afterwards, who's better. And I think that the problem with our kind of disposable mindset is we just toss somebody and that's all we have to say about it. I really think that Sirianni is the kind of coach who will pull it together. He was the guy that orchestrated, the Super Bowl win last year.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I would say that he's, hot garbage. I think that he's got some struggles, but I suspect that he will find a way to pull the team through.
I think that is a really good perspective to have. And at times for Eagles fans and Eagles Nation, it is so tough for them to actually see that. But let's move on to the AFC, okay? Because the AFC is also so very interesting as the Broncos and the Patriots. They each have only 2 losses this season. I'm amazed by this one particular team. And I know many of us had the Broncos as being a sleeper team heading into this season, but I don't think anybody thought the Patriots, Bret, would have been this successful after 13 weeks of play. So as we just talked about top NFC teams with the Eagles and the Rams, do you think the Broncos and the Patriots are truly top teams in the AFC?
I think the Patriots are getting the benefit of a bad team's schedule this year.
Okay.
I think they're good. They have beaten some incredibly talented teams, but I don't know that I would necessarily consider them where their current playoff berth has them. The Broncos have done a better job of fighting a tougher schedule, but they have to get to the end of the season. It's 17 games. We've just finished week 13. We've got 5 more weeks to go. It's hard. I think that both the Patriots and the Broncos are very good teams, but just how good I'm going to hold off on judging until I see how they finish the season. Both teams have some very tough games ahead of them.
They have very tough games ahead of them. And I think the Broncos, if I had to pick or choose one of these two teams, Bret, I would say the Broncos are probably a little bit more real than the Patriots. And it goes to that Broncos defense, I think, that you see so much dominance from them. And, I think that Sean Payton, like him or not, and there are times, I haven't been the biggest fan of Sean Payton during the course of his tenure as an NFL head coach. I think he has this Broncos team in general pointed in the right direction. So if I had to pick either between the Broncos or the Patriots, which team is more for real, I would have to say the Broncos. What are your thoughts there?
I agree with you. I think that Sean Payton is the same head coach who came in and told the Broncos, we don't want Russell Wilson anymore. Now It seems like a stroke of genius. Those are tough calls, and only confident coaches can make them. So the Broncos, in my mind, are ahead of the game because they've kind of passed some of those tough litmus tests already.
Yep.
The Pats have to make those tough decisions ahead of them. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think the Broncos are a tougher team. We'll see how it plays out.
All right, very good. Again, folks, we are talking to Bret Stuter from Ramblin' Fan over at Fansided. You can follow him on the Twitter/X at Milroy Eagles Fan. Great follow, and we love having him on. We are going to take a quick break here, but actually, before we go to break, Bret, aside from Twitter X, is there any other social sites that you're on that you want to promote, or any other thing you want to promote?
Well, Ramblin' Fan, which is part of the Minute Media Rams blog site.
Yep.
We cover a number of topics, and I think that it's we do try to be a little more just not focused on the Rams, but also across the NFL at large. So I think you'll, if you dare to read, I think you'll find you'll get some good conversations.
Awesome. Again, folks, Ramblin' Fan. Fantastic website out there. We are going to go to break for just a quick bit. We'll be back in just a bit with some more NFL talk. All right, and we are back with our buddy Bret Stuter from Ramblin' Fan. Bret, I really want to dive into a specific team that I don't think is getting a lot of, how can I say, maybe their due, and maybe they shouldn't be getting their due. Maybe they're a team that's just getting lucky, but I think a team that has shocked many of us here in Week 13 are the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, they have won 3 straight games. They're now sitting atop of the AFC South. Yes, they're still tied with the Indianapolis Colts, who have, who seem to be trending downward here, as I had mentioned earlier. I just think this Jaguars team is pretty interesting to watch, quite frankly. Do you see the Jacksonville Jaguars making a run over these next few weeks of the season? Or, again, have they just been a lucky team, in your opinion? What are your thoughts here?
Well, I think the whole AFC South division is a very interesting group of teams.
Yeah.
Of course, the Tennessee Titans are out of it. But the other 3 teams, the Colts, the Jaguars, and now the Texans, are all looking like they're making a run. One of the things that I love about the Jaguars is their synergy. They poached personnel executive James Gladstone from the Rams.
Yep.
Then they hired former Rams offensive coordinator Liam Cohn to run the team. So they have they're on the same page of how to build a cohesive and successful team. They've been winning, and in all honesty, that doesn't surprise me in the least. But are they a playoff team? I think that's the question that has to be answered through the final games of the season.
When you look at this division too, I'm wondering, do you think the Colts really are the team for these other teams in the division to beat at this point? Because, I was looking at this, you look at this Colts team throughout this season, you say Daniel Jones really had a pulse on what this offense should become, how he was operating the offense. And again, now this team is kind of sputtering here for various reasons here. I do wonder if the Colts are going to be the real deal here. When you look at the Colts, You look at the Texans, you look at the Jaguars. Like, what are your thoughts on how it may all take shape? What is your gut telling you at this point?
Well, I think that in all honesty, I was never a believer in Daniel Jones, and despite his early season success, I'm
Yeah.
still skeptical.
Okay.
Jones had every chance with the New York Giants. Giants are a tough team. New York's a tough town.
Yes.
But I didn't see what he flashed with the Colts, and I think that may have been, kind of that bump that you get whenever you're out with a new team and you get a fresh start, to kind of redefine who you are. But I think that Jones is starting to settle in. I still love the Texans there because they are just tough as nails.
Yeah.
And I think that the Jaguars are going to prove to be very pesky, coming down the stretch run here. Um, it's going to be a kind of a carnage in my mind, in that whichever team beats the rest of them, as the final games play out, I think they're the ones that are going to take the division. The thing that I'm most concerned about is that if the winning team for that division is beat up, comes out of it with less health than they would like, that's going to be a tough position for them to be in to go into the postseason.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parity there, and I'm just afraid that they're going to beat the snot out of one another, in the way to get there, as opposed to, some of the other teams, like, say, for example, the Eagles. I think that the Eagles have a much smoother course. They've got 2 games against the Commanders and then 3 AFC teams. So by rights, unless the Cowboys win everything that they've got, I think that the Eagles are almost a shoo-in for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I don't think that any of the AFC South teams have that kind of a path. It's going to be tough going, slug it through the whole way from here on out.
Yeah, it really is. It's going to be a knockdown, just drag out affair with some of these teams for sure. And, you use that word parity again, and we're seeing so much of it as we're exiting week 13, heading into week 14 of this NFL season. And I guess to close us out here, Bret, there are always teams that come on strong towards the end of the regular season. We see it every single year. We're talking about some of those teams right now in specific divisions. I'm wondering which teams really should we be keeping our eyes on that may actually shock us as we head into the last few weeks of this NFL regular season. Do you have a couple or a few teams in mind that you're really keeping your eyes on here?
Just for you, I dusted out my crystal ball.
Okay.
And so
Thanks, Bret.
I wanted to drop some names, but I don't know how much of a kind of a shock they are, as just pesky teams that won't go away, like, the holiday fruitcake.
Yes.
Top of the line is the dreaded Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh.
While I don't think they can overtake the Eagles, they have won 3 consecutive games against very good teams. And if they keep winning, they can knock off another team or two. They have a chance to slide in as a wild card team. I know that upsets me as much as you, but it's the way it is.
Right.
I think the San Francisco 49ers, while they still have some tough teams to play, I think that they have benefited from a last place team schedule. So they didn't really face a whole lot of tough teams. And so they're getting healthy at the end of the year. They could be a team. The Detroit Lions, although they lost 2 very important coordinators, they are starting to show a pulse again. So they could be in there. I think the Baltimore Ravens, although they just lost at a humiliating game against the Cincinnati Bengals, are still in there. They play 2 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I think determines the fate there. And then, D'Amico Ryan's Houston Texans, just because they are a tough team and they do not surrender, and they are now setting their sights on the Colts and the Jaguars. And I think that they may be just perturbed enough to take it. So
yeah, I got to tell you, that I absolutely love your 5, and I'll say this as well. I'm absolutely shocked at what has happened with the Detroit Lions, but there's something in the back of my mind that says that the coaching staff there, the veterans on the team there, are somehow, in some way, shape, or form, going to be getting it together over these next few weeks and really could make a push toward the top of the NFC North. That is overtaking the Green Bay Packers, overtaking the Chicago Bears. As we mentioned earlier, Chicago Bears now number 1 seed in the NFC, which is absolutely crazy. But I think there is enough talent on that Lions team, especially from an offensive perspective, where they could actually, I don't necessarily want to say shock us, but they could really give the Packers and the Bears a run for their money at the end of this season here. I don't know. What are your thoughts with the Lions?
Yeah, and the thing that I like about the Lions is that they have the right teams on their schedule to do some damage. You
Right.
know, if the one of the toughest parts of being a in the hunt is having a schedule where you have to rely upon other teams to beat the guys that you need to overcome to
Yep.
get into the playoffs. The Lions have their teams on the schedule. They're playing one more against the Bears. I think they have at least one more against the Packers. They certainly have their own destiny in their hands if they can win out.
Right.
So they're not out of it. They have some tough teams though, but they have to face the Rams still as well. But they are pesky and they're not going away easily. So if they can beat tough teams on their schedule, they deserve to get in. So we'll see if Dan Campbell can keep it going.
Absolutely. Again, folks, he is Bret Stuter from Ramblin' Fan. Check out what they have going on over there. Lots of great Rams content, also NFL content in general. Again, search out Ramblin' Fan. And Bret, it was great talking to you. Always a good time, my friend. Always enjoy our conversations. Come back again down the road. I'd love to have you on the show again, my friend.
Absolutely. And thanks, Jeff. I always look forward to having a football talk with you. You are one of the best out there.
Oh, thanks so much. We'll catch you all next time.